What's going on there, guys? We back with another one. And today we got to talk about how LeBron James Podcast has been criticized by Stephen A. Smith, Kendrick Perkins, and even Shannon Sharpe over the last few weeks. And fans of the show and fans of LeBron James are starting to point out, there's been some negative things said leading up to Danny Hurley potentially taking the Lakers job and that falling through, him going back to UConn, and now JJ Redick kind of being listed as the guy at the forefront. Now, me personally, I felt like maybe the Danny Hurley thing was a distraction and JJ was who they was eyeing the whole time. You think about it, Danny Hurley was just on JJ's podcast. They were talking X's and O's, and then all of a sudden he emerges as a candidate. JJ's not a candidate no more, hearing the public backlash, and now it looks like, oh, we tried to go hire somebody, but now we'll hire JJ Redick. That's just me. Don't take that with a grain of salt, but that's how I feel about it. And but people have been pointing out Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharpe, Kendrick Perkins has had a lot of negative things to say about LeBron over the last few weeks. Kendrick Perkins was even unfollowed by LeBron on all the social media platforms. Shannon Sharpe took a shot at the podcast, and Stephen A. Smith had something to say about it today. Now, I don't think it was a shot, but Stephen A. was talking about how some black coaches has called him, and they were infuriated by it because they felt like it was another catalyst for pushing Darvin Ham out the door. Let's check out what was said. I'll be back. Let's speak.
Here we go again. Braun weaseling his way into somebody else's moment. Let somebody else, this is not about you. Your team is at home. This is about the Mavs and the Celtics. But yet you're so mad and disappointed that you're not Kyrie Irving running mate no more. Here we go again.
That's a different story.
Imagine unfollowing me on Twitter, but you still got to wake up and watch me on TV every day because I ain't going nowhere anytime soon. That's number one. Number two, I think LeBron James got sensitive over the last couple weeks because I've been calling him out or have to speak on certain things that he may disagree with, like the firing of Darvin Ham or the coaching search for the Lakers, or even having to touch on the Bronny James situation when it comes down to dealing with the draft. At the end of the day, everyone on this television, including USA, because you and I over the last 3 years, and Molly, you could contest to this, we have been going back and forth, and name me somebody, probably other than Shannon, that has been coming on here lobbying and defending for LeBron James like I have been on the basketball side of things.
That's totally true.
And a few times that I disagree with you, you get in your feelings, and you don't pick up the phone and hit me up or send me a text. And the disappointing part about it is that I get a call or text from Rich Paul. Bron, I've been knowing you since 1999, brother. We played AAU basketball together. We played against each other in AAU basketball. We played in the McDonald's All-American game together. We was in the same draft. You have my phone number. If you had a problem with anything I said, and we could have picked up the phone and had a conversation. But instead, you took to the pub. You knew the world was going to see it eventually that you unfollowed me because they have all these stalkers that have their stuff on alert that I don't know how, we're living in weird times. No, seriously. Ain't that crazy? That you can unfollow somebody and it sends an alert to somebody to let the world know that you unfollowed them. We're living in weird times at the moment.
I know you said that he and JJ had that podcast, Mind the Game, and it's supposed to be X's and O's. Let me tell you something. If you ever want to start a podcast, and this is what I tell Stephen A., you got to be able to adapt. You got to be able to branch out. Because if all you talk about X's and O's, it ain't going to last very long. You have to talk about other things.
Perk been saying that for months. Perk been saying that for months.
All right.
What I can tell you is this. Numerous coaches, black coaches, called me expressing how they took issue with that podcast taking place. And I think you know enough to know that that's true. Some of them felt very salty about that. We certainly are not blaming JJ Redick. You got your podcast. Maverick Carter approaches you about doing this idea. Who the hell would? I jump at the opportunity.
Wait, can I pause you on that? They were salty because he chose to do a podcast with a white guy, or because it hurt Darvin Ham?
Because it hurt Darvin Ham.
Okay.
Because it hurt Darvin Ham. So any of us would do a podcast with LeBron James. Anybody who says otherwise, that they wouldn't do a podcast with LeBron James, is lying through their damn teeth. I know I would. I know you would. I know Wendy would. I know anybody would. That would be an honor for us because he's one of the greatest who have ever played and he's a basketball savant. So we're not faulting JJ in any way for doing the podcast or for the content on the podcast with LeBron James. But at some point in time, we do have to do this, Jay. As I said to Wendy last week, we have to remember the things that we've said about LeBron James as it pertains to his brilliance, as it pertains to controlling a narrative, as it pertains to being 2, 3, 5 steps ahead of others in terms of what you're plotting and what you're planning and what have you. And then that'll raise an antenna. We knew before the podcast ever started that Darvin Ham was on a hot seat. We knew this. Now, in fairness to LeBron James, when the news came out, hell, we celebrated it right here on this show. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's going to be great. It's mind the game. They're talking the game. I mean, they're talking basketball. It's fantastic. I mean, JJ Redick's a brilliant basketball mind. LeBron James, we know what he is. No problem. But as the podcast gained steam, and then the spotlight became more magnifying for Darvin Ham, and then you saw an Anthony Davis after game 2 against Denver talk about how lost and, you know, we just weren't on the same page. We just seemed to be out of sync, et cetera, et cetera. We saw all of these things. Then we started having the others, and not necessarily us as a show, Jay, just the industry itself. Yep. Everybody was talking about how LeBron's had all of these coaches. You've never really heard him speak up for a coach, even though Rich Paul and them would say he spoke up for Ty Lue and stuff like that. We thought Ty Lue should have got the job. The Lakers shouldn't have been in a position trying to tell him to pick his staff, trying to underpay him, all of this other kind of stuff. We looked at all of those things, and we said, you take all of those things into account, this does not look good. That you got to like, and what I was saying on the air with Wendy last week and Molly was that couldn't have started it during the playoffs. Couldn't have started it after Darvin Ham lost the job. Did you have to start it in the middle of the damn season?
So Stephen A. actually has some valid points, especially with this looking like it was a job interview for JJ Redick the whole time. If he becomes the Lakers coach, I actually believe Stephen A. Smith, you know, some coaches called him and voiced their displeasure with how that whole thing was handled. You know, Darvin Ham obviously was a heavily scrutinized coach, made some mistakes, but magnified, obviously. When you have a LeBron James talent, everything you do is going to be magnified. He's back with the Bucks now in a assistant capacity, but I thought, you know, that all in all, coaching LeBron James is a big challenge. You know, it's a big, big challenge. And I'm not saying other superstars isn't, but in this social media era and how everything is scrutinized in real time, and you could see all the think pieces all over the place, and you know, you got LeBron walking away from you in huddles and different things like that in real time, right? People are sharing this stuff. It's been talked about on every sports show. It's like, wow, you know, like coaching him is such a challenge. That's why I never thought that Dan Hurley would fit with the Lakers. I didn't feel like he wouldn't be able to coach under them conditions. He would end up fired, or him and LeBron would end up in a scuffle or something. Because, listen, man, I know those guys, and the Hurleys are crazy in like a coach, you know, in a good way, where they coaching you, right? Obviously, because he's won 2 national titles at UConn. You don't win like that without putting your identity on teams. You know, he ain't getting the top All-Americans over Duke and Kentucky and them, but when he gets them on campus, he's coaching them in a way where it equals wins. And so him and LeBron would have butted heads a little too much, I felt like. But JJ Redick, you're going to lose the locker room. And dare I say, I think you're going to have problems with Anthony Davis. If this podcast spawns JJ Redick becoming the head coach, knowing the relationship with JJ and LeBron, I don't know. I feel like there's potential for it to be issues with AD there after, you know, they bring him in. And who really in the locker room is going to respect JJ Redick like that? You know, maybe he could coach some of the younger guys, but you know, you look at certain players, man. They played against this dude, and it was recent that they played against him. You know what I'm saying? They looking at him like, he's not like Udoka's age or nothing like that. I don't know, man. I just don't think that's a good idea as far as a coach for the Los Angeles Lakers. I think JJ Redick and this whole podcast, I thought they was gonna talk real ball too, but it ended up changing into something else as time went on, going on in the middle of the playoffs. And I don't want to scrutinize everything LeBron James is doing, but I do recognize that it does cause issues and it looks fishy doing that while your coach is on the hot seat and now he's named as the top candidate. Again, I feel like that Dan Hurley thing was a deflection, and I felt like they pretended to go after him, didn't offer him the money they knew it would take for him to leave UConn, to say, okay, well, JJ Redick was our fallback plan, but wasn't our original choice to not look weak, to look like LeBron isn't running the show. So, again, that's just me, man. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time. Peace.
Skip tweeted something, and although I disagree with the tweet, and hopefully Skip would take it down.
I'm not going to take it down.
Skip. 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 Skip.